Hey guys, okay, we're going to do the video for 1-10, more triangles to prove congruent. Last time we talked about angle bisectors and line segment bisectors along with midpoints of a segment. That video, I didn't get to do an angle bisector, so I'm going to do that now. Also, we're going to talk about some tricky proofs here that involve you proving parts of a triangle congruent in order to derive an angle bisector. So this is going to be a really tricky proof we're going to do here. So let's take a look. Okay, so we talked about the angle bisector last time. If we have a stated bisector, so like BC is a bisector of angle ABD, from there we're going to have two congruent angles. And then as a result of the bisector, we're going to have ABC is congruent to angle DBC. Well, we could also work our way backwards. If I know that these two angles are congruent, then I can make the statement that this is an angle bisector, and that's what we're going to look at. I gave you guys a secret formula for proofs. Let's start again. We're going to say state the given, find and state congruent parts, state that the triangles are congruent, and if needed, and that's what's going to be covered in this video, state that if the triangles are congruent, so are the parts. Alright, when we start getting into these types of proofs, stuff can get pretty hairy, so we definitely want to take our time, make sure we know everything, make sure we're proving and stay as organized as possible. The proofs that we showed in the last video were only 3, 4, sometimes 5 line proofs. These can go way further than that. But you could also be really creative about how you go about this. There's a number of different ways to approach these types of problems. And like I said before, it's just like an investigation of a crime or a court case. You're trying to find a way to make your case and back it up with facts. All right, let's take a look. So here I have this triangle, and you're going to tell me that KT bisects angle EKI. In this case, in this particular diagram, they were nice enough to actually number the angles for me. You can actually do that yourself. You can do that. You can number the angles if you don't want to deal with the 3 letters. My recommendation is honestly to deal with the 3 letters. The reason for it is because on standardized tests, SAT, ACT, EOC, sometimes they give you an angle like this and you need to know how to read it. You want to get used to it. Here, they also tell us that KE is congruent to KI. And what they want me to prove, now this is the interesting part, that this line here, TK, not only bisects this line, angle 1 and 2, but also is going to make 3 and 4 congruent. So let's start with the given. This time I'm going to write the given down first. I'm just going to write it on one line. So KT bisects angle EKI. Then KE is congruent to RI, and that's given. Okay, so now let's see what that evidence I can pull from that. So it says here that KT bisects this angle. Let's try to not let this thing wobble too much. So if this line is bisecting this angle, that means that this and this are congruent, and that is because it's bisecting. I'm going to make that line 2 and say that it's bisecting. In fact, what I'll do is just rewrite the given. Okay. It also tells me that KE and RI are congruent, so I have KE, that's given, that's part of the given, so I'm going to just mark that as line 1 so I can keep track of that. Then what I have here is I have the reflexive or shared side in the middle. And I'm going to make that line 3. say shared side this time. Again, I want you to recognize reflexive, but the vocabulary is not something I want you to get hung up on. I want you to get hung up on the process of this. It really teaches you how to think. So now I could say that my triangles are congruent, can I? Because I have side, angle, side here, and side, angle, side going that way. So this triangle is now congruent to this triangle. Okay, so that's side, angle, side. And that's going to be line 4. All right, let me write that up real quick. So now I'm going to say 2, and I could say that angle 1 is congruent to angle 2, and that is because of this. So I could actually use that. It's safer that way. Definitely if you're writing a proof from scratch, it's safer just to use the information from the given. I mean, I'm restating something and using it in my favor. It's kind of hard to make an argument against that. Now from there I have the shared side or the reflexive side. So I can say that KT is congruent to KT. Now I'm going to keep those in the same direction. I really didn't address this in the last video. You see the way these two angles are congruent to each other? That means both triangles are going this way. Okay, even if you look at it, both triangles are going in this way. Now if this angle was congruent to that one, that's really when we start flipping the letters, and that's not occurring here, so it's okay. All right, so now this is the shared side, or the reflexive side. I will write here reflexive. Again, I just want you to be familiar with that word. Okay. Now, I can state that the triangles are congruent. So I'm going to say triangle KIT is congruent to triangle KET. And that is because of side, angle, side. We're not done here yet, because the proof part wants me to prove that TK bisects angle ETI. That's what I need to use. All right, or that's what I need to find, I should say. So that means I have to prove that angle 3 and 4 are congruent. Well, check this out, and this is the part where you have to follow along pretty carefully. I just proved, using side, angle, side as a statement, that this triangle and this triangle are the same. As a result of that, every part in this triangle is congruent to every part in this triangle. So I can now make the claim that angle 3 and angle 4 are congruent because both triangles are congruent. There is a term for that I do not want you to use, which is called CPCTC. Now you're asking, why am I telling you? Because again, you're going to see it. And it's just stating that congruent parts of congruent triangles are congruent. It's a very confusing statement, and it's not clear when you guys need to use it. So for now, what I want you to do is just use your own words, and that is what I'm going to do. So 5, I am going to say that angle 3 is congruent to angle 4. And I'm going to say that because triangle KIT is congruent to triangle KET. So what I did, as I said, this angle of triangle KET is congruent to this angle of triangle KIT because both triangles are the same. So they have to be the same. And I'm going to mark those off. Okay. Now before going back, I stated here, I'm going to grab this real quick. I stated that if I have two congruent angles, I can say that this is a bisector. The same way that we could say that if this is a stated bisector, these are the same. So that's a little confusing. So let's break that down. Here's what I did. I used my previous statements to state that angle 3 and angle 4 are congruent, or they're the same. As a result of that, angle KT, side KT is bisecting this angle because both of these are the same. I'm kind of hoping that's clear. I'm hoping that's clear. So because these are the same, angle 3 and 4 are the same, that means that angle KT, or side KT, I keep saying that, side KT is cutting ETI in half. And that's exactly what I'm going to state. I'm going to say that line 6 is going to say TK bisects angle ETI because angle 3 is congruent to angle 4. Okay guys, I hope you guys found this video helpful.